Hello and welcome to the Overton Audios podcast. My name's Connor Chadwick.
And I'm the Blue Kazoo.
And on today's podcast, we'll be discussing the latest Cravat Doctor volume, Trial of the Master. Now, Blue Kazoo, how are you? Yeah, indeed.
I have had a very, very, very long day.
Yes, so for context for those listening, me and Chelsea have actually kind of almost lived together for about a week.
We did. Did you enjoy it?
I did. We had many good times of watching things and falling asleep.
That is the epitome of our friendship, as eating things and falling asleep.
Yes, we go, whoa, look at this, what a delicious meal. Now I must sleep. Yeah, exactly. But we were going to try and record this last night when you were here. But we were shattered, weren't we?
Yeah.
We'd been at work, and then we just got back, and we were like, we don't have any energy to sit down and be enthusiastic.
We got back, like, near 8 o'clock, and we were both like,
yeah,
like there was no brain cells. We only had smooth brains.
Indeed, yeah. But then we thought we'd record. We went, okay, we'll record on Friday night when you're back at yours. And then you've proceeded to have possibly one of the worst travel days maybe you've ever had.
Yep, 100%.
Well, we did have a very rough morning commute on during the week you were here. But I don't think that really compares, does it?
No, it does not. Not in the slightest.
Then go forth. Tell us of your woes.
I will give context. So, as I was leaving the flat of Chatters, there was disruptions as of usual on certain lines and whatever, which was fine. You know, we could deal with that, so I left a bit earlier. My train got delayed. Dun dun dun. That was strike one. Then got on the train, everything was fine. Until there was more disruptions, and we were told by the lovely driver of the train that if we wanted to get to this certain part of the country, that we had to get off here, run over a bridge, and get on to the other train as fast as possible. What I didn't realize that there was like me and 200 other people trying to get on this train, and for the must have been about maybe 3 hours, I had to stand in the little corridor between the trains, or between the carriages of a train, with about 20 other people.
God.
And like throughout the whole carriages, there was just people in the aisles of this train that was filled, and that was every single carriage.
Well, out of curiosity, you know when you were stood in that, well, the back of the train in the little kind of exit area, when the trolley would go by, because you know because it's a long haul journey. When the trolley would go through, would they stop? And if somebody wanted to, was there anyone like? Or should we word it? How were you able to buy things there, or did they only give it to seated people?
Right, brother.
Brother.
We were told once we got on this train, multiple times at nearly every stop, that because of the capacity on the train, there would be no trolley service. The only people that got trolley service were first class passengers.
Of which, of course, you weren't allowed in first class.
No, we even at then you had like young, children standing, you had old, pensioners standing as well, but they were not allowed to go on to first class to have a seat.
And let me clarify, this was being done on the hottest day of the year to record so far.
Yep.
Because for context as well, this is obviously, as I mentioned earlier very briefly, it's Friday. This is the beginning of the anticipated heat wave bank holiday weekend. And it has already been unbearably hot today as it is. And I doubt that the train's aircon did much to help, considering that you were packed in with 20 people. But how long were you stood up for? 2.5, nearly 3 hours?
Nearly 3 hours.
I couldn't do that.
And like, the wee bit that's like, it's in between carriages, where the toilet is?
Yeah.
There. Can you imagine that filled between 20, 25 people?
Did anyone go into the toilet and just sit down?
We were not allowed to. We were told we couldn't do that in case there was an emergency or somebody had to go to the bathroom, so it had to be kept
Someone had a
closed.
really upset stomach.
No, well, we weren't
Well, they
even
wouldn't have
allowed.
been able to have an upset stomach.
Yeah,
You weren't being fed anything.
but like there was just people that couldn't move, and there was people sat on the ground and everything, and because obviously you're packed like sardines,
Mm,
you were bumping into people, but it was just it was a lot. I've never had a journey like that before, and obviously it's not anybody's fault, due to train, errors and lighting things and whatever. But I think it's because the amount of people that was on that train is because whenever I checked to see if there was any other
yeah.
trains going later to where I was going, they all got cancelled.
Well, it should have been a bad omen anyway,
Yeah,
because
so everyone was just
you
running.
when you woke up, you had a notification saying that your train was cancelled anyway.
Yeah, it was just a lot.
Did they
It
say
was
what was
really.
causing it?
Oh, they said that was just like even the driver said there was just due to multiple things. So I think it was like like a snowball effect of one thing wasn't working, so this got delayed, but then something else happened, this got delayed.
Well, yeah,
But
because when we had the problem with the morning commute
mm-hmm,
earlier this week, a train had broken down
yeah,
and had obviously our normal train, which is usually quite smooth and quiet,
mm-hmm,
had become about 3 times like well, how do I word it? There were two trains before the one we get,
mm-hmm,
and those two got basically cancelled and merged with
yeah.
our one, which is why ours was so bad. So I'm wondering if that's what's happened here as well. Is that because your train left about 22 minutes late,
Yeah, there was
which meant that
there was other
you would
trains.
be, yeah, it would mean that you were 3 minutes late for your connecting train.
Yeah, and by the time I will tell you this, I wasn't even. I was 40 minutes late in the end up.
What,
So
getting
I was
back?
there was no from for getting my connecting train. The train itself was
40
40 minutes.
minutes late.
Yep,
But oh my god, those are the worst kind of days, man.
and it was just jam packed the whole way. But the Blue Kazoo triumphed, and even on my last train to get back, it was still packed. But there was an old woman. Shout out to Jean, legend. Um, I was sitting on
Oh,
like literally the only seat that I could. I seen her getting on, and she was standing beside me, and I was like, "Here, you sit down." I didn't care. I could deal with 20 more minutes of standing. But now I have the muscles of Hercules. I swear
yes.
my calf muscles and I most likely have muscles in the bottom of my feet
Mm.
because oh.
Your foot's still healing from when you got the blister.
Oh, I had the worst blister ever, but because of how much standing I was doing and shuffling about, I took off my socks when I got back home, and my blister patch went up to my big toe. So yeah, I was walking, and it took this. This is really graphic. Sorry for anybody who does not like graphicness.
Warning! Warning!
Warning! Warning! Graphic content.
Oh god!
The
Well, hang on a minute.
the skin of the blister
Yeah.
was still attached to the wee blister plaster.
Oh,
And as it moved, it took the skin with it.
that's a
So
good
it's just,
sign though, because I'm sure the skin underneath would have healed then at that point, hasn't
I
it?
but here, whenever you have a tugging of skin at the bottom of your foot, you're like, ah!
Mm.
But I prevailed. I am now home.
How long was the walk back?
20 minutes uphill.
Oh,
And then you have to walk up all the stairs to get to my place.
yeah,
And
because you
I'm
got no
like,
lift, have you?
no. And I was just like, I'm considering so many life choices. But
But
like, think about it. There,
nonetheless,
I
I'm
spent
very
the whole
proud of
time. I
you.
couldn't even go to the bathroom. I couldn't even go
No,
to the bathroom. There was no space.
but I'm very proud of you for doing it.
Thank you. I am proud of myself, and I will have the best sleep of my life tonight.
Oh yes, oh, yes. But we do not think about slumber now, for there is podcast times ahead.
Podcast time.
Indeed. There you go. That'll be the new jingle that you've just done there.
Podcast time with Connor and the Blue Kazoo.
Now, before we get on to the next segment, I want to talk about something. And obviously, we're going to keep it spoiler free. We are going to have a segment in next month's podcast all about this, where we talk full spoilers because it will have been out by then. But are you looking forward to the Fractured Timeline finale release?
Yes, I
am. At the beginning of this life, I woke up not knowing who I was, with echoes of all my previous faces going through my head. The face that has meant to lay the foundations of who I've become, missing, not even a whisper of them, and now Maggie is gone.
My name's Julia Breslin. How did you get here?
I was walking towards the doors and then...
Bright light?
Yeah, exactly.
There are multiple spikes spanning from the 1960s all the way up to the early 21st century. Whatever happens, it's going to ripple back throughout the rift across all time zones.
Well, the timeline's a fragile thing. Once you fracture it, it can cause untold events, splintering out, creating different possibilities, all within a single universe.
Fractured time. And life itself hangs in the balance.
Paradoxes are like dominoes. One can trigger the other. Your carelessness might have just triggered this.
Well, you don't need violence. One of your rules.
I've picked a lot of them recently.
No! Maggie!
Sometimes, to defeat your demons, you have to become one yourself.
Because obviously the trailers have come out and everything, you and I are both in it, reprising our roles as obviously Cravat Doctor and Julia Breslin.
Yes, I'm so excited.
We filmed that a year and a bit ago, I want to say.
Yeah.
March 2025.
Yep.
We were meant to film in October 2024, and then my life got really, really busy and I couldn't.
Yeah.
And Dan was so patient with me.
Bless.
Because he'd got everyone else organised, and then at the last minute, I just couldn't. We were about to book the flights, and then I just looked at everything, and I just was like, I don't think I can go. So too much has come up for me. So we were able to move it, and Dan was very, very patient with me. Whereas, I know that my patience would have been tested with myself at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we came up in March. Myself and Abby Louise. Mm-hmm. We came up to do the filming and just chill out. It took a couple of days, didn't it? Well, I think we were doing bits of it. We were there for a long week. We were there for a long weekend, basically. And this is the problem. If only I hadn't stopped my monthly vlogs.
I know.
I know. But no, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun filming this because it's interesting, and I'm sure that you can talk a bit about this because you've done it a couple of times already. But to try and bring a character you voice into live action, I find it much easier to be a voice actor because I can kind of just. I know that with acting, it requires imagination and everything, but there is so much more to live action, physical acting than voice acting. Not that I'm not saying that one is better over the other, because in voice acting you have to inflect so much differently with your voice. But I feel more comfortable voice acting than I do live action because I have the script in front of me when I record, and I can kind of work on inflections and think about more things and kind of multitask. Whereas in this, I was very conscious of the fact that I had to make sure I moved like a person.
I think I touched a wee bit on this on last month's episode. When I was saying how whenever it does come to voice acting and everything, or it might have been 2 months ago, about voice acting and how you physically have to have to change yourself physically whenever you're even acting, um, in front of a computer or a microphone. But yeah, I think it is a very different thing whenever you
Yeah.
have to do it in front of camera, because
Mm.
you have to completely engulf yourself into this character and not let your actual self seep through. But I feel like
Yeah.
with Julia, I feel me and her, like, I don't have to put on an accent or anything like that. Like, her accent is mine, and it's just, being that character is like second nature to me now.
Mm.
But it's that type of thing where you just fully have to like engross yourself in that. And people do find it that wee bit difficult, but once you actually see a character that you have voiced for such a long time, like you and I have, and seeing it on screen, it's something else. It's like,
Well, yeah, this is
really?
the biggest long form appearance of the Cravat Doctor and
Yeah.
Julia as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I can't remember how long Dan told me the episode was. I could only imagine. I imagine it's like 45 to 60 minutes, must be something like that. But
Think so.
we've done minisodes before. I think I can't quite recall how many live action appearances I've had. I think. Do you remember the one we filmed in Cardiff down in
Yes.
the alley? I feel like that was one of my first.
I
live
think that was like, a little test to what
Yeah,
to come.
and that was a little bit easier to do because I just had to stand there looking baffled.
Mm-hmm.
But it was when that bit where we meant to walk out of the TARDIS and walk down while talking.
Yes.
I really, remember that I really struggled with how would I move, because
Yeah,
I
because
know
you've
how I
never had to
sound.
think about it before.
Yes, I know how I sound, and I always try and mimic a mixture of what I think a young version of the first Doctor would be like, which a lot of people will put that down to being the sixth Doctor, Colin Baker.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of people have said since then that I do a lot of Colin-isms, so to speak, which I just imagine Hartnell, but
Yeah.
me a little bit. And I guess Colin did that really well as well. But
It's one thing as well that I find absolutely hilarious with things that we have to film or take, photos of our characters like together.
yes,
Is just the height difference.
yeah,
It is
It wasn't
hilarious.
until we met properly at the beginning of 2019, but after that is when the covers started looking more accurate.
Yeah. You were just guessing at what height I was, and you were like, oh,
Mm,
I've got this completely wrong, haven't I?
yeah.
And I was like, yes, you have.
It is also like it's so apt as well that this has come along on the 10th anniversary of Overton Audios. Because, well, when you look at it, where would we be
Exactly.
otherwise? Do you know what I mean? Like, I knew you because of a sequel film that Dan had made called Downloaded, and we'd cast you in that. But you'd spoken to Dan predominantly, not me.
Yeah.
I
I
messaged
was
you
very professional
separately.
with you.
Oh yeah, hello, Mr. Chadwick.
Hello, Mr. Chadwick.
But then that's the thing
It
is,
doesn't help now. I'm just like, hello, sir.
yeah. But look at how much we've changed in 10 years.
I know.
You know?
And then, sure, next year we will have known each other for 10 years.
Next July. Well, no, not next July. The July after next. Yeah, July 2027.
Yeah.
I believe it's isn't it the 10th?
Yeah, I think so.
10th of July.
I have it written down in my calendar as like me and Connor's anniversary.
But that's the thing. Where would we be like if I hadn't messaged you again? Can you record this line, please?
Yeah, exactly. So many cogs were turning to make now as it has to be.
Well, I don't think you'd know half of the people you know now.
Oh no, definitely not.
You wouldn't
Definitely
know. Well,
not.
you'd know me, but only as being the editor of Downloaded, and nothing more. You'd have probably still known Dan. I wonder actually, like if you'd have appeared in Fractured Timeline again, but not as Julia Bresvin.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? Because It would. I think you would have, because some actors who were in downloaded and uploaded later appeared in the Irish Doctor era.
Yeah.
She might have
It's very
appeared as a different
crazy.
character. Yeah, it's an
It is
interesting
crazy.
thought. Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to think about it too much. My brain is going brrr.
Yes.
Ah.
Well, speaking of beginnings and such, shall we talk about
Yes.
endings?
Oh, let's go.
We must speak about the Cravat Doctor.
No.
Yes, I'm afraid we must. We must talk about the latest Cravat Doctor volume that came out. It's only just come out, the final episode. He's still alive, but it's the beginning of the final 3 volumes. So let's talk about the first volume, Trial of the Master. Overton Audios presents.
This man you spoke of, the Master, you implied he wasn't good.
I prefer to remember the best of him. Where are my friends?
I'm not even in my time, and my daughter's all alone.
I need to find my dad. I think he's in terrible danger.
I'm sorry, Patrick. I'm sorry.
There is something going on here. The disappearance of my friends, but I know far more than you think I do.
This man, he can't just come back into my life and tell me all this stuff, all of this awful crap, and expect me to help him save the universe. He's insane. That's all he is, an insane old man.
When I first met you, you were lost, confused, you were a broken man.
I made my decisions, and all decisions have led me here. This is where my story ends.
Master! No! You can't do this!
Doctor Who Resurrected 1 Trial of the Master, coming the 9th of May 2026 at 12 p.m. Hello everyone, today I'm going to be discussing the latest Cravat Doctor volume titled Trial of the Master. Trial of the Master brings to an end a massive storyline that encompassed the whole of, well, John and Harper's iteration of the Master across, I think it was around nearly 5 years. Wow, yeah, so it just clocked on because of how long Mastermind took to get made, but simultaneously took no time at all. Now, as I've gone through multiple times, I'm sure that with Mastermind, we wrote volumes 2 to 4 within very, very quick succession. And it was written in quick succession because John and Harper were stepping away from voice acting for an indeterminate amount of time. So we had to record write 3 volumes in advance for John to record. So at the end of 2022, I want to say, he recorded lines for volumes 2, 3, and 4. Now, initially when Mastermind started, Mastermind being the spin-off, a spin-off off of Doctor Who, Cravat Doctor Adventures, following John and Harper's Master, we came up with the idea as it being just a one-off. Myself and John had talked about it quite frequently because we'd been really inspired by listening to the War Master, and then there were some other volumes that Big Finish were creating about other incarnations of the Master. So it was something that we definitely wanted to delve into and have a look at. But we really struggled to get the first volume started. It was only when the second volume was coming along that Eamon Longman came on board as kind of almost like the showrunner and the head writer of it, if you want to call it that. He decided the storylines for, whilst obviously in conjunction with me, for volumes 2, 3, and 4. We obviously wrote those very far in advance. John recorded them all, and only volume 4 only really came out at the end of last year, the end of 2025, because we had other things with Torchwood and stuff, and Mastermind had become something that had to be kind of put on the back burner for a bit. Even though it was already written, it couldn't come out because it would spoil other storylines that were supposed to come out sooner and needed delaying. As a result, that would also delay this volume. Now, this volume you can listen to without having heard the Mastermind volumes, because this volume pays homage to those Mastermind volumes while also simultaneously being able to strive forward as something unique. Obviously, at this point, it's been nearly 6 years since the Cravat Doctor and the Master have seen one another. And that was something that was quite, which is something I feel very warm about. Like, the Master is such a unique character, and we'd had so many storylines with the Cravat Doctor, where we had only had one volume coming out a year, or in some cases we had a whole year off. A good example of that is 2024. We only had one story, really, in terms of pushing forward the story. We only had a Halloween episode, The Grey Portrait, which was about Dorian Gray. That was the only story where it was actively referenced as being after the Prism Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials that we made. Other than that, we had quite a bit coming out in 2023. We then had one volume come out in 2025, and now this year, as I've referenced quite a few times, we are going to be having 3 volumes of Cravat Doctor coming out, which would mark the end of the Cravat Doctor's era. So these last 3 volumes are very, very special for me. They're things that we've taken our time to think about. Okay, these volumes are going to be serialized. They're not going to be one episode or or episodic. We're going to have them be serialized so that we can have elements of the Cravat Doctor's era highlighted. So obviously this one is about the Master. We haven't seen the Master in a very long time, but at the very beginning of Cravat Doctor's era, especially in Doctor Who Resurrection, which was the first 4 series being kind of the original format that we used to make the Cravat Doctor adventures within. Essentially, we're referencing that, and that's with Cravat being older now. It is something that I feel very passionate about and want to highlight the good times over the last 10 years of making Cravat Doctor stories. We have obviously got the 2nd volume and the 3rd volume to come, which I'm very, very excited for everyone to hear when we get there. But in terms of the excitement of playing an older Cravat Doctor, for those who don't know or weren't aware, because there have been a couple of questions, at the end of the last Cravat Doctor volume, which was called Multiversal Recovery, the Doctor is fighting an alternate universe version of like a Dalek mutation version of the Blonde Doctor, and that Dalek is attempting to fly the TARDIS, and the Doctor falls out of the time vortex. Whilst he's in the time vortex, he is aged up, so the vortex, the time winds, ripple across him and age him. So a lot of people were thinking that there was a large gap in time between the 2 volumes. There's not. In fact, Trial of the Master takes place immediately after the Hybrid, which is the last story of Multiversal Recovery, where this event of him being aged up occurred. So Trial of the Master is immediately afterwards. With Mastermind, however, that is also the case. The way that Volume 4 ends is with Cravat appearing. And we have essentially, there are gaps between volumes. With Volume 2, there were, Volume 2 of Mastermind, there were episodic storylines and episodes. And then with Volume 3, it was serialized. Volume 4, there was a bit of a gap. If you've watched Episode 1, you know how much of a gap. But it was essentially, the Mastermind volumes were to explain that John N. Harper's iteration of the Master, or as he's known via other playlists and titles on Prism, the Cunning Master, where he's been the whole time and why he's not been in the Cravat Doctor's life between the last time we saw him in the Series 4 finale of Resurrection, which was, I believe, titled High Society, and this episode, this volume, Trial of the Master. It was something very, very nice to be able to reflect over. When we were writing it, it was something that, I was about to say without getting into spoilers, but this is coming out after the fact. This is obviously John N. Harper's final outing as the Master. With the Cravat Doctor's ending coming soon, it was something that we wanted to... I gave John the option to stay on, but John was saying that he'd never had a regeneration story before for a Master, and it would be nice to do, to give him an ending. And then, later down the line, if he ever felt like revisiting it, he could. But right now, at the moment, he is happy having an ending, and that's where we are. Now, we obviously try to reference elements with the Master in the past, in the show. So what we had was, we initially had it kind of pitched as being a bit more of a possession. So the Master possesses the character of Joan Adams, who is Professor Phoebe Chaddy's girlfriend, which obviously is a reference to Nyssa of Traken and her father. In this sense, it's less family, more love, but it was a reference we tried to keep to. As well as that, we now have it be that it is a full regeneration. So we have the Master's soul extracted, and when we were editing it, actually, we were having this issue where it just seemed like a possession, and I was worried that at the end of the story, at the end of the volume, it would come across like it wasn't really the Master. It was now just kind of similar to how seen as possessing different bodies. It was just the same incarnation, but possessing different bodies, which isn't the case. We wanted it to be a regeneration, but also kind of one where we explored and called back to the potential that this Master had at the very beginning to be good. But sadly, that he could only be good when he couldn't remember himself, which is a tragedy in itself, I think. So we wanted to... So I added something in the edit where when Joan is possessed, the regeneration energy, pours out of her. And for a moment, we see John appear as her. As in, it's actually him. The regeneration starts and it almost degenerates into John. But then a full regeneration takes place. And you see him turn back into the image or the person that is Joan Adams. And at that point, obviously, we see that Joan is still in there fighting. Ultimately, sadly, losing the battle. But that is the Master now. The Master is now wearing Joan Adams' face. So, I hope that, despite all my ramblings for the last 10 minutes or so, that kind of makes a bit of an insight into this story. It has been a really nice journey to go on. I will say that much, definitely. As we get towards the end of the Cravat Doctor's era, I become so much more reflective of the era, and knowing that this was going to be the final Cravat Doctor and Master story, knowing it was also connected to the previous Mastermind volumes, etc., etc., it made it all the more important that we make it as much of a celebration as possible of both characters as well. Because, again, whilst I've said the last 3 volumes, Trial of the Master included, are the end of the Cravat Doctor, this volume marks the end of John N. Harper's version of the Master. So, all in all, it was a lovely, lovely volume to work on and develop and edit and basically all put together. We even got our lovely sweet Daniel, or as everyone else knows him, Daniel Patton, to come back and make some more covers for us. He's had to obviously step back a little bit. He's been very, very busy with the Fractured Timeline finale, which of course we'll be talking about soon, I'm sure. But nonetheless, I am very, very happy with it. I see that a lot of people are very chuffed with it. They're very happy to see John and I acting against one another again. And obviously, so much has changed in our lives actually since that point as well. 6 years, in a very different place. We actually worked on the majority of the series, the last series that the Master appeared in with the Cravat Doctor, during COVID, if not just before COVID. So this is a big thing because it's so far past COVID now that we're also such different people in our lives. So it was really nice to be able to, and obviously Mastermind, writing them so far in advance, didn't give us the opportunity to be able to actually develop the characters as we went along. We were stuck with what development we had written years prior, but now we can kind of bring it now to here and really flesh it out properly, and I'm really, really happy that we were able to do that. So, yeah, anyway, I think that's everything I have to say on it. I'm sure there'll be more to develop on it over time, but that will be over time. Probably more something I reflect on when it comes to talking about Cravat's final volume. But nonetheless, anyway, thank you all for listening. I hope that you were able to put up with my rambles, and I will see you in the podcast, no less. And welcome back to the podcast, and I'm still here with the Blue Kazoo.
Hello.
Yes, still tired from the train, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I cannot be tired, brother. I
No.
must read some comments.
Indeed, brother. We should probably explain why we keep calling each other brother, shouldn't we?
Indeed. Go you on ahead. You do it the best.
Oh, so we enjoy a video called Brother, May I Have Some Oats? And it turned into us going, Brother, may I have some oats?
No.
But I'm starving, brother.
As am I, brother. The tall, skinny ones threw the oats at me. Me, brother. I think they have taken a liking to me.
No, brother. I have seen this before. That's as much
And that's all we ever get
yeah.
up to, isn't it?
Yeah, but it ended up just sort of becoming us doing that, and then eventually we were like, whenever we were like chat, and it was like us having to say no, we'd just be like, no, brother.
Oh, brother.
And eventually it was just like, hello, brother. Yeah, it's very good to see you, brother.
If you insist.
Yeah, we've got a lot of memes that we share of clips from it. Oh, yeah, and there's also the cows one, isn't there? Going, brother, I'm troubled.
It's really cold in here in the shed. If nobody has ever seen it, I think you should go on YouTube, search up Brother, May I Have Some Oats?
And of course, brother, I am troubled.
Yes. Educate yourselves.
Yes, indeed. But for now, we can educate ourselves, Blue Kazoo, by reading what people have been commenting on the latest Paternoster Gang volume that has come out on Overton Audios, Future Outcomes 3.
Go on, boys. Right, so I will read the comments for episode 1 and 2.
Yes.
So we start off with Stefan Callis 5909, who comments a smiley face and a lovely wee heart.
Yay!
Hooray! And then we have a lovely comment from our iconic Michael Cox, who says, that was a good story establishing the Pat Gang and Henry in their new reality in Victorian London. Although there is both intrigue and action, we are also introduced to a crucial piece of the story of Benjamin Falstone. Hopefully something which in time will help Vastra and her friends resolve their own situation and the threat posed to the world by the time traveler. Ooh. And our next wee comment is from Isaac, the Abundance Doctor, who said, great, the young doctor is here, with a smiley face and a confetti cannon.
Indeed. You're correct.
Next wee comment is from Ewan the Blue. I started this and set about cooking, not paying any mind to the cast, in brackets, because it's always good, close brackets. My surprise at the connecting the dots with a very familiar sounding voice was genuine and added greatly to my enjoyment of this installment. Looking forward to the next one already. Smiley face. And then from our last week comment on this video is from Just MMS. This was a great one. Simple story, but brilliant execution. Tom.
Yay!
That is lovely. I always find it so great to see people enjoy. And as you know, it's not, like me and Doctor Who type things, but it's great to see that, when people comment, it's like, oh, thank you for the support.
Oh, yeah,
It
definitely.
It's great. Now, we will go on to the next episode, which is episode 2, The Silence of Scotland Yard. And the wee comments, our first wee one is from the iconic Michael Cox.
Indeed.
Which is a very, very lengthy one, of course.
But a good one nonetheless. We do not mind.
Of course.
I really love reading and hearing Michael's review and also thoughts on the episode because they're really in depth.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the audio has been listened to, if you know what I
it's
mean.
just like I feel heard.
Not that other comments don't. I really appreciate the engagement, but it is just something when someone writes a nice detailed review exploring character themes. It is always nice, you know.
Indeed. Would you like to hear what he had to
Oh,
say?
of course.
Right. So here we go from the lovely Michael Cox. Diegetic entropy? Someone's been reading up on their narratology. Sorry, Michael. I don't have a brain today. But in all seriousness, this was a compelling story comprising a number of interesting elements. I'm so awful. Can you tell? I'm so snippy. I will do that again.
Yes, restart. Start when you're ready, then.
Oh, I know. I was going to give a couple of seconds so you can cut that bit out.
No, I'm not cutting that out.
Fairly well. Here we go again. Diegetic entropy. Someone's been reading up on their narratology. But in all seriousness, this was a compelling story comprising a number of interesting elements. As sentient weapons go, the diegetic entropy is a stroke of genius, and I could imagine it deployed in various scenarios. Henry's heart continues to push him to do the right thing, but he lacks the subtlety and persuasiveness to keep Florence's trust. Benjamin's brief appearance teases the audience that there is still more to be learned about the extent of his time traveling and, above all, his motives. The Pat Gang are nicely contrasted with Detective Henson, who feels like an echo of Inspector Lestrade when he's out of his depth. The gang tackle the problem in hand with their usual confidence and competence. They may be out of time, but that doesn't stop them rising to any challenge. Finally, I'm intrigued by a short scene at insert time code 2622. I wonder if this points to something that will be picked up in the story elsewhere.
Yes, well, that's something that was, well, I should have mentioned for episode 1 as well, which is we have different Prism Doctors appearing in these stories as surprise appearances. It is both linked to our 10th anniversary celebrations of having Doctors reappear. The young Doctor hasn't appeared on Overton Audio since the 60th celebration, the 60th anniversary celebrations that we had on the channel back in 2023. Pete was more than happy to come back to reprise the role. And obviously here we have Matthew Tyrrell appearing as the Alacrity Doctor, and he hasn't appeared on the channel since 2024 with his first volume of stories, which I'm sure it goes without saying, but I'll say it here anyway. There is a second volume being worked on. Volume being worked on. It's just taken a while for us to all kind of get started again. But I really wanted it to be that Matt could still have an appearance in something so people remembered he was still here. Not that I think people have forgotten, but it's always good to have a nice little reassurance that, you know, he's still here firmly.
Indeed. Our next week comment is from Stephen Callis 5909 that says, heart, heart, heart. Aw, we love wee heart.
Little emojis.
Wee emojis. There we have a comment from Martin Foot 8224. Nice episode, and an intriguing little moment towards the end with a familiar inspector.
Oh, yes.
A comment from Isaac, the Abundance Doctor. Matthew!
Yes!
Mark, confetti cannon.
Oh!
Indeed. And our last week comment from Just MMS. So, I'll admit to fully knowing the little surprise ages ago, but it was lovely to hear it fully integrated. Shocked face.
Indeed, indeed. Oh.
Ooh.
Indeed. So those were the comments for episode 2, weren't they?
Yes, I do apologise, Michael Cox, for my poor reading, but we got there in the end. Don't fire me, please. I enjoy being Susan.
So now we move on to episode 3, which is a 2-part story titled Time Shift. So we start with our first comment from Dr. Rudy Vivas, otherwise known as Mr. Michael Cox. And he says, another great episode. Well, it's been established that Benjamin is the unwitting architect of his own misfortune, and from that perspective, he is to be pitied. However, his willful pursuit of his plans has created such harmful ripples affecting the lives of others that it is hard to be wholly sympathetic to his plight. Benjamin is therefore a nicely rounded character, so much a reflection of our multi-layered human nature that he is more simply the plot function of an antagonist. But I'm intrigued by the character of the conductor, whose role seems to be keeping things on track. Could he be a servant of the Guardians of Time? No doubt something will be revealed in due course. It will be interesting to see how the Doctor fits into this, but one can hope, as one who can resolve not only Benjamin's plight, but that of the Pack Gang too. Indeed. And then we have a comment from Jessie Laura 7616, who says, how about a First Doctor audio, like the beginning? And then there proceeds to be quite a lengthy list of 20 plus audio drama titles made by Big Finish, which I'm not going to read. It's just essentially, I don't quite understand the comment, because we do make First Doctor audios.
We do indeed. Hello, my name is Chelsea Lagan and I play Susan.
Yes, and we have had questions before on some of our First Doctor audios about audios like the beginning, which is the Big Finish telling of how the First Doctor and Susan left Gallifrey.
Right, I see.
But of course, we've got our own telling. So that comment doesn't quite, shall we say, link to what we're talking about. But there was a lovely response by Just MMS to this, who says, so basically the ones by Big Finish. Best not, but Overton Audio's First Doctor is good enough when you don't need these. So that's very nice. And then we have one more comment from Just MMS solely, who says, bust my buffers. We've got a two-parter on hand. But I guess it's time that this volume huffed and puffed its way to the end. I could fit in more Thomas the Tank Engine references if I could, but that would cause confusion and delay. Yeah, fair enough. I agree. We now move on to episode 4, which is Time Shift Part 2. And we have a comment from Dr. Eddie Vivas, aka Michael Cox, who says, an episode full of energy and emotion and a worthy story resolution. However, it also felt like a beginning. Time will tell if this is so. What is certainly clear is that the Pack Gang are ready, willing, and able to serve wherever and whenever they may be. I like the nod to an iconic line from the Fifth Doctor, and then there's a little time code. I will have to look at that. And it wasn't intentional, but nonetheless, it was made. I'm happy to quote unintentionally. Then we have a comment from Isaac, the Abundance Doctor, who just goes Dominic with a kind of confetti.
Confetti cannon.
And this is the story where the Frontier Doctor with his companion Eloise Fletcher appear. And then lastly, we have a comment from Just MMS, who says, a great end to a weird but wondrous volume. And thank you very much. We've had some very nice comments this month, I feel.
Yeah.
It's been quite nice.
We love the positive vibes. We love the comments.
Indeed. And it's we've now caught up with the comments. Next month, we'll be reading the comments for the Young Doctor Chronicles special, and of course, the First Doctor special, Home is Where the Heart Is.
Ooh.
Indeed. And I think, you know what I think it's time for, Blue Kazoo?
What is it time for?
I think it's time to have a look at what's coming up next on Overton Audios.
Let us go and have a look.
Overton Audios presents
We're not running anymore. It's time to fight back.
Felicity!
We can't keep running, Jane.
Alright then, lads. We're looking to do a survey of the structure. We need to make it safe to enter. We need to access the building as soon as possible. It's important to our client.
We're going to disappear, Jake. Phoebe and I. We just want a normal life.
Supers cannot be allowed to integrate like this, not like before.
You're starting to sound like Mr. Stevenson. Everything in the last year, our pals, being fugitives, freeing ourselves, but then at the expense of Jake.
And he took the supers with him, to his version of the company. We have the list. It's time to act.
Jake, just calm down.
No, you all said that before.
Stop right there. Who are you?
Luke. My name's Luke.
And you all still abandoned me, though. My own father. Now you will pay.
Did we do the right thing?
I can only hope we did.
Supers, Volume 4. Coming the 6th of June, 2026 at 12 p.m. What an interesting coming soon that was, wasn't it, Blue Kazoo?
Mm-hmm.
So, after a little while of waiting, we've now finally got the 4th volume of Supers.
Indeed we did.
As I think I mentioned when Volume 3 came out last March, we have... Well, I wrote Volumes 3 and 4 back-to-back during Christmas 2024.
Yes.
If you remember, because I asked you to record for Volume 3 in December.
Yeah, you did.
And then for Volume 4 in January. Do you remember
What
that?
a great time that was.
I sent you like 8 scripts, and you're like, oh, God!
Yep.
Wasn't anything in comparison to what came later with the Magenta War.
Don't talk.
But yeah, so that volume was written about a year and a half ago. Well, a bit. Nearly almost a year and a half ago. And it's been ready for a little while, but it just needed a bit... Between volumes 3 and 4, there needed to be a little bit of space. And this volume delves into... well, I mean, it was hinted at the end of volume 3 when we had the volume 4 introduction. But essentially, Jake is now heading the company, or a version of it, that is now funded by the government. After the murder of Mr. Stevenson, who, of course, if you remember, Chelsea, that was the character played by Michael Cox, who was the villain of the story so far.
Michael.
Oh no! But yeah, he was defeated and killed. But Jake felt like it was wrong that Mr. Stevenson had gone about killing other supers to get his way. He felt it was contradictory and wrong that the supers did it back to him. It was like using the same philosophy against him. Now, everybody else didn't agree with Jake. But Jake felt as a result, because people had the ability, like, two of them were his father and sister.
Mm-hmm.
And he went, when were you two murderers? You wouldn't have hurt a fly before all this. So he felt like these abilities, these powers, were changing people's like moralities because they had the ability to act now.
Yeah.
So he was very worried about that, and everyone kind of shunned him, including his own family. They shunned him in the sense that they told him just to calm down and agree with them. So he left them all behind and said, "I'm not a part of this. I don't want to see any of you." And he leaves, and at the end of and we do this little preview thing at the end of the volumes where we hint to the next volume, and essentially he is talking to the Prime Minister. I think no, sorry, he's talking to Leonard Price, who appeared in volume 2, who was falsely dishonored from the army because of some supers who had used their abilities. and they had to lie. So now he's working with Leonard Price to create a different version of the company, one that's a lot harsher, and rather than letting supers still integrate with society, he now wishes people to isolate themselves away from others, like so supers to have their own society, not with the general public. It goes into a lot more heavier themes in this volume. There's a lot more that goes on. Obviously, your character, do you remember Felicity O'Sullivan?
I do indeed.
She is struggling with her powers.
Yes.
But she's going on her own journey as well. She doesn't necessarily know about the hunting, but she just wants to be herself again.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got people who want to rise up, who have become radicalized by this idea, and you have people losing sight of themselves and losing.
They just change completely.
Well, yeah, exactly. You have some characters who are just like, I don't recognize who you are anymore because you're now talking about doing this, and that's kind of illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going, but we have to do this because morally it's this, and it's not a one-to-one comparison that way. So this volume delves into a lot more of the morality of people's actions.
A lot of deep themes.
Indeed. But it does mark an end of an era because, as people know, we did make Supers volumes 8 to 10 at the very beginning of Overton Audio's time. But that was when I'd made volumes 1 to 7 as a child, and that was a continuation.
Yeah.
Now I've gone back and decided to remake those first 7 volumes. So people know there were 7 volumes coming, but let's just say volume 4 has a very definitive end for some of the characters. And the following volumes that are coming will be, let's say, very eye-opening.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that people will find it interesting.
Of course they will.
Yay! So, I suppose there's nothing else to say then. Thank you to our Patreons, Delta Effects, Anya Patton, Daniel Wild, and Chelsea Lagan.
You're welcome.
Indeed.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome also.
So I suppose there's nothing else to say, then farewell, because it is now the end of the podcast, Blue Kazoo. And we have got to go back to trying to cool ourselves off before we melt like candles.
That's
Indeed. Thank you all for listening to this podcast. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and it is farewell from me.
Farewell, everyone. Farewell.
Bye.